Welcome to the Create a Life You Love workshop. I am so excited that you are here investing in you. Maybe you're here because you're looking for something more in life. Maybe you are just going through the motions of life and are exhausted. Maybe you've completely lost who you are and have no idea how to figure out who you are. I've been there. Or maybe you aren't sure why you're here, but something drew you to listen. No matter the reason, I believe nothing happens on accident and you are in this place for a reason. It's good to have you here. You'll be learning the key foundational tools I use to rebuild my life from the ground up after my world fell apart around me. I've created a life I love because I use them, and I'm excited to share them with you. I do have a little disclaimer for you. This information will impact you as much as you allow it to. I say that because I don't have the answers for what will create a life you love. I only have the answers for what creates a life I love. However, I do have tools and lessons to empower you to find your answers and create a life you will love. With these tools and lessons, will give you the results equal to the amount that you apply them. They work for me because I use them every day. And that's why you're here, right? To learn how to create a life you love. So my goal is to spoil you with the foundational tools that I've used to get through every struggle, every breakthrough, and every challenge I've had while creating a life I love so that you can do it for yourself faster, less pain. Are you ready? All right, quickly before diving in, I want to introduce myself and share with you how authentically you came to be. My name is Elle. Some people know me as Liz, some as Elizabeth. It depends on when they've met me on my journey. A few years back, my emotional and mental energy tanks were beyond depleted. I had nothing left to give. I was running on fumes, was emotionally exhausted, and I was just getting by. I wasn't showing up in life in a way that felt good. I was snappy at home. It was a really frustrating place to be because I wasn't depressed. I just lacked pure joy and it made no sense to me. Felt like I had lost who I was. So I did a crazy thing. I went on a journey to find me. Some people do their best thinking in the shower. I do mine in the car. And someone suggested a road trip to clear my head. I thought it was a brilliant idea. So I decided to go to Sedona, Arizona because there's an energy vortex there. And I thought it would help me figure things out. I traveled across the country from my home state of Wisconsin to Nebraska, Colorado to Arizona. And this whole time I spent journaling, reading, and trying to connect with myself. I was learning to listen to my heart, connect with my spirituality, release control, and allow myself to be guided. After a few days in Sedona, I decided to cross New Mexico to go to Texas because what do you do in New Mexico? On my way through New Mexico, I experienced one of my favorite, most transformational days in my life. I often remind myself of this day when I get a little too caught up in life. So I'm driving down the highway and I see the sign for truth or consequences. How fitting for my journey, right? So something inside me said to go. I released control, I listened to that pull, and I got off on the exit. On the drive there, I decided I would find a zip up or a tank top with a name on it and continue on my journey. I found a store that had a zip up I liked, and as I was checking out, I was chatting with the lady working. She asked if I'd ever been to the area. I said no. She said, well, you have to check out the hot springs. So I'm on this journey to release control and be guided, right? So I listened. I asked her where I should go. She grabbed some brochures and said her favorite was Blackstone. So I went to Blackstone. I had the most amazing soak in this hot spring bath. And as I was leaving, I was talking to the owner. She said she was born and raised in the area and she'll never leave. But when her and her family want to get away, they go to the big city of Las Cruces or to the mountains of Silver City. The mountains of Silver City stood out to me. So I surrendered and listened. I drove to Silver City. As I was driving through this long snake-like town, I said, okay, universe, I have no idea what I'm doing here. Please help me. I drove through the part of the town with the Walmart, the fast food chains, through the older part with the small businesses like the insurance agents. And then I hit the old artsy district. And as I was stopped at a stoplight, I looked out my window and I saw a brewery. I knew that was where I was supposed to go. So I parked and went in to have lunch. My server told me that many people, even famous people, come to the Gila National Forest for the same type of journey, to Soul Search. He listed off several things in the area to check out, and the one that stood out to me was the Faywood Hot Springs. I was going to need a place to stay for the night, so I looked them up, and unfortunately, they required a 2-night stay. I only wanted to commit to one. I went to a hotel, and long story short, check in was not going very smoothly. So I saw that as a sign of resistance. I left the counter and I called Faywood and I asked if there was any way I could stay for one night. He said yes. So I drove there. And that night I soaked in a private hot spring under the pitch black sky of New Mexico. I still get goosebumps every time I think of that experience. I have never seen so many stars in my whole entire life. I called the next morning and extended my night another stay. And from here, my journey only continues. As I've looked back, I can now see that not everything in my life was out of whack and sucking me dry. I just didn't know how to decipher the difference or that there even was a difference. I've been all over the country in the last 2 years and talked to so many women that have also shared that they feel like they've lost who they are amidst life. And that's how Authentically You was born. I know how painful it can be to be in this heavy place, feeling like you've lost yourself. And it doesn't have to be that way. Life isn't meant to be so hard. For the last 10 years, I've been building my skills and experience and training through my health coach certification from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, 7 years of leadership training in my old career, and thousands of hours of learning from books, podcasts, and courses. I have used these tools every day to go on this incredibly hard, yet most rewarding journey ever, learning to create a life I love. This is the beautiful part of life. We can create what we want. We aren't just given a deck of cards and have to deal with them. We can choose to trade them in at any time. So that's what we're here to do. Create change in your life. Discover what's sucking the life out of you, what's giving you joy, and how to actually apply this information so it doesn't have to be just another workshop you attend. It's time to take back your health, your life, your relationships, your joy, and your happiness. So are you ready? All right, how many times have you read a book or listened to a speaker and been so inspired to change your life or your health or your finances? And then a few days, maybe a few weeks go by if you're lucky, and you realize nothing happened. You fell off the wagon. The information got stuck in your mind and didn't get applied to your life. So you get to decide what you get from this experience and how you apply it. Past is the past. It's just a reference. You have more practice and more experience under your belt. If a child fell a few times when learning to write down, learning to ride a bike, would you say, oh my gosh, this isn't going to work? You might as well stop trying. Didn't work last time? No. You're going to encourage that child to keep trying until they learn. Maybe the child will learn better in the park or on the grass or in the street. They keep trying until they figure it out because they are committed to their goal of riding that bike. And when they are committed and when we are committed to something, there's always a way, right? So since you're investing your time, let's set you up for killer results. Inspiration without motion is barely retained. So when we move our bodies, we actually tap into our nervous systems and we put the information into our bodies. So throughout our time together today, we are going to move and we are going to shake. So you can sit there and think I'm totally crazy, or you can just humor me and try it. You're all by yourself, right? So let's shake it. All right, so there's 4 things that will help you get the most out of today. 1, be present. Don't try to multitask. Eliminate the distractions. Hide in your closet or the bathroom if you need to, but these tools are going to sink into the amount that you're fully present. For listening 50%, we're maybe going to hear 30%, 40%, which means we're going to maybe be able to apply 20% if we're lucky, right? So have an open mind. Some of what we cover is foundational. It's easy to think, yeah, I already know that. But you might know it. My guess is you're not doing it. And that's one of the lessons I've learned on my journey. So there's a very big difference between knowing and doing. I challenge you to have a beginner's mind like this is the first time you're hearing this information. Be curious about what you are and aren't doing and how you can actually apply the information. Now, to do that, we're going to have to get really honest with ourselves. So I've heard the phrase stop lying from a few of my teachers, and I couldn't understand what they were talking about. Now, I couldn't understand because very thankfully, at a very young age, I learned to tattle on myself. Somewhere along the line, I learned that unless I'm brutally honest with how I'm showing up in the world and what I'm doing, I'll never be able to grow. And it became very obvious to me recently that not everyone does this. We play the blame game. I did this because they did that, or if they hadn't, I wouldn't have. It's time to own your stuff and get honest about what is working and not working in your life. If you're willing to take 100% responsibility for whatever happens in your life and your actions, you can have anything you want. Keeping your head in the clouds is not going to help you create a life you love. Now, we're only as honest as we are aware, but that's a skill we're going to work on. So just have beautiful honesty with yourself. Give yourself grace. Maybe you're in a heavy season of life. I've been there when that time when my life literally had crumbled all around me. And the lesson I learned was to treat myself with kindness, care, and patience. It is possible to create a life you love amidst the chaos of life. It is possible to climb out of that rubble and create something amazing. Trust me, I've done it. And every day I commit to doing it. It's done in baby steps, so do this with me. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And know that you can hold both. You can be having a really hard season and be dedicating time to create what you want. You get to do both. And you get to do it with grace. So give yourself this next hour and be fully listening. Close your eyes. Imagine you have a box in your lap. And I want you to take everything in your mind and place it in that box for safekeeping. Oftentimes I do this at night when I have trouble quieting my mind to sleep. I picture that box by my door. So when I get up in the morning, it's all there, safe and waiting for me. But I imagine a crane picking up everything out of my mind and placing it in the box. And I do that until I feel like my mind is mentally emptied. So I challenge you to do that for yourself right now. Use that same crane and empty your mind into the box for safekeeping. When you feel like everything is in that box, I want you to take it, set it next to you, because it's going to be there when we're done. There's always going to be stuff going on in life. But give yourself this opportunity. And energy. Not the rah, jump up and down kind, but show your brain that you are serious about creating the life you love by using the energy in your body. Because if you're over there slouched in your chair or hunched over, what signal does that send to your brain? You're bored, you're inattentive. So adjust your body so that your brain knows you mean business. Like for how often are you laying on the couch feeling blah, like you know you should get up and clean the house, but you just can't find the energy, right? And then your friend calls and says she's coming over. And immediately you jump into action, are full of energy, and you get the place cleaned up. Energy is actually a habit. So it's a habit I'm still rewiring for myself. But one of the ways that we can train ourselves to have full energy is how we physically show up. So instead of slouching or having your face in your hands, sit up straight, pull your shoulders back, sit on the edge of your chair, put a smile on your face. There's a very big difference between, or a very slight difference, between blah and raw. So get in the habit of teaching yourself to have full energy and not low energy. And coach yourself to stay engaged throughout this time listening so that you can retain everything possible. Show yourself that you mean business. All right, shake it out, check your energy. So you are listening to this to learn 3 things. 1, 3 foundational tools to creating a life you love. When we understand why we do what we do, we are empowered to choose something different. So are you good at being who you are today, at the life you are currently living in, even if it's not something that excites you? Absolutely you are. When we practice something, we get really good at it. So we're going to learn the foundational tools to practice something new. We're going to discover what we desire more of and less of, because awareness is the first step to shifting. When we can see what is working and what isn't, we can begin to shift areas that will boost. So if you're sitting here today, it's likely because you want to create something different in your finances, your career, your relationships, your health, maybe all those areas. So we're going to create some awareness because it's the first step in the process. And how to actually make that happen. So I'm going to picture this huge boulder in front of you. And as you start to push that boulder, it's barely moving, right? As you continue to push, the faster it begins to roll. That boulder is the life you want. We're going to get you moving during this so that you can continue rolling into that next season of your life, continuing to pick up speed. We are here to get you started. So are you ready? All right, first we're going to ground in some fundamentals or foundations. The fundamentals need to be practiced daily. Some of the greatest coaches in the world, including my Green Bay Packers coach Vince Lombardi, focused on the fundamentals. And look at his results. We build a house without a strong foundation, that home is not going to be strong. So there's three key foundations. And when we understand these foundations, we can understand why we do what we do. These foundations are going to help you understand why, for example, when you go on a diet, you can stick to it for maybe a few days, a few weeks, and then maybe fall off. Why does that happen? Well, it comes down to these foundations. And once we know better, we can do better. So, foundation number one is habits. These are good, bad, and neutral. They are thoughts, behaviors, emotions, and actions. These are things that we've practiced for so long that we've gotten really good at them, even if we don't really like them. They become a part of who we are. So do this with me. Hold your hands out, and I want you to clasp them together and do it a couple times. And I want you to stop. Are you putting the same thumb on top every time? The habit that you picked up at some point. You do it without thinking. You learned it maybe 20, 30, 40 or more years ago, and you've just done it that way ever since. Is it possible that there's other habits that you've got that have become a part of who you are, that you're doing unconsciously like that? Is it possible that some of the habits you have are on a trajectory that doesn't align with where you want to go in life? These habits are important because they've gotten you to this point in your life. They're not going to get you where you want to go next. It's time to get brutally honest with yourself about your habits. Because if you don't like the way life is, there's nothing wrong with you. It's your habits that you don't like. You are not your habits. Your habits are something you've practiced. You've gotten so good at them that they are part of who you are. They are not you. They can be untangled and rewired so you can become who you want and create a life you love. Are you with me? All right, shake it out. Keep the energy in your body. All right, foundation two is decision. The reason most people can't make the shift from where they are to where they want to be is because they struggle making decisions. It's turned into wants and shoulds. I want to lose weight, or I should work out, or I should have a better relationship, or I want to stick to my budget. These things never seem to happen, do they? It's like they're stuck out there just out of reach. Time goes by and they won't never happen. Well, there's a little secret for you. The biggest shift that you can make is to release your wants and shoulds and commit 100% to your decisions. Change happens when we make a decision, when we decide this will happen rather than leaving it to chance. The moments that you make a decision and have the courage to act are the moments that transform your life. Does making a decision make you nervous? It kind of scare you? Like standing at the edge of the diving board. We can always find a reason not to jump in. It's too high, it might hurt, it might swallow water. These things are true. But another truth is that we can waste a perfectly good life by standing on that edge when we know in our heart the best experience is going to come from jumping in. Are you someone who struggles to make decisions? I'm guessing if you look around, get honest and really look at your life, you'll start to see the impact your indecision has had so far. Maybe some things you've missed out on. Sometimes we don't realize the monumental impact that one small decision, like jumping off that diving board, has on our life. We also make a decision when we decide not to make a decision and settle. When we decide to stop using our voice, to stop taking care of ourselves. This is choosing small rather than choosing big. The choice is equal, but the results are not. I'm going to go out on a limb and say you don't want to settle anymore. I doubt you'd be listening to this. So how can we start to make decisions that better align with us? There's two ways. First, start with the small ones. What restaurant should you go to? What route will you drive home? Start to listen to your heart. Use your voice. It's those small actions that you take right now that are going to have the biggest impact on building your self-confidence and your self-trust. Anytime you have the opportunity to make a decision, do it. And that leads to the second way to make a decision, which is also the third foundation. Identity. Knowing who you really are, what you really want, allows you to make better decisions. Decisions that are in alignment with where you want to go. Our identity is the strongest force that drives our behavior because we will always make decisions that are consistent with how we define ourselves, including our beliefs and our values. So you've got to know who you are. When you know who you are, how you want to show up in the world, and what you want from your life, it's easy to make decisions that align with where you want to go. When you're frustrated about life, wishy-washy about what you want, you've got this internal battle going on between your head and your heart. One part of you wants this, another part of you wants that. And it leads to this really yucky place where we lack confidence. And we're likely to make decisions that don't align with where you really want to go. It's super easy to be swayed by what others think at this time as well. And that creates even more internal chaos. This often happens because we're trying to make a decision that's not in alignment with some part of us. Maybe it's a hidden old belief, or maybe it's challenging our values, or maybe it's just not matching with our desires. But a very simple example is someone who prefers not to eat meat and someone who's a vegan. Someone who prefers not to might bend the rules. They might snitch. The vegan's not going to question what they will and won't eat because it's part of their identity. Someone trying to quit smoking versus someone who doesn't smoke. Someone trying might bend the rules, but someone who doesn't won't. It's an identity shift. And it's easy to make decisions when you are strong in who you are and not just and versus just what you kind of want. Identity is who you are. It's what you believe and what you want. So how do you get strong in your identity? Well, this is one of the pieces that we thoroughly cover in Authentically You coaching. It's like peeling the layers on an onion back. You uncover many parts of you as you dig into your identity. Part of me says this, part of me wants that. Today is about the little nuggets. So we're going to learn about two of your parts. We all have two key parts of our identity: our protector self and our warrior self. Our protector is a dream killer. It's the fear-based part of us that wants to keep us safe, and change can be scary. So it would make sense that our protector would want to prevent us from changing, right? We may need to correct our protector on what is safe and what isn't because it's likely functioning from some outdated beliefs. Let's go back to your thumbs. Hold your hands out again, and this time I want you to put the other thumb on top. 1, 2, 3. How does it feel? Maybe a little weird, maybe a little scary, probably uncomfortable. But if you decided from now on that you wanted to put that other thumb on top, can you do it? Can you change whenever you want to? Yes, you get to change. You get to choose. So anytime we think about our protector self, we want to remember it's fear holding us hostage. It's a part of us, but it is not us. We get to choose if we listen to our fear-based protector. It's important to remember that maybe you've been doing things for so long one way. Maybe it's a thought, an action, a belief, and a feeling that when you go to make a change, it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel unnatural. It's going to be uncomfortable. It takes effort. Why? Because you're changing a habit. You're rewiring your brain. What do you think majority of human beings do in this scenario? Make the change, like implementing the tools and the strategies that you're learning here. And because it's so uncomfortable, it feels so weird that instead of staying the course and sticking it out to rewire those habits, they go back to the way it was. This is why we can walk away from something like this and have no results. It's why we can start on a diet and fall off the wagon. We find ourselves doing this in life over and over. We dance with who we want to be and who we've been. We flirt with that change and then we pull back to safety. That makes sense? You've got to know this because when you're on that line between who you've been and where you want to be, it's so much easier to make a decision when you know one of your parts is holding you hostage based on fear. And it's at that moment that you get to make a decision. You get to choose. And the way you choose is by asking yourself, how do I want to show up in this world? Is this headed towards where I really want to go? So are you with me so far? Now, we don't want to send our protector part away because she's an important part of us. She has her place. Protector provides us with one of our basic needs, certainty. Even if it's uncomfortable or painful or not truly in alignment with what we really want, because protector knows the results. She can predict the outcome and knows what to expect. So when she tells you all the reasons not to take risks or go outside your comfort zone, even though your comfort zone might not really be that happy, remember, she's doing it to keep you certain of the outcome. She might remind you of all the reasons not to take a risk on a relationship or a new job or moving because it's unsafe. Protector lives in fear, and the unknown is scary. Start to listen for her. You'll start seeing her pop up a lot more throughout your day than you might imagine. And until now, most of us probably just listen to her. So now that you know this, do you think it's time to shift your relationship with your protector? There are times she needs to be honored and trusted, but in today's world, those times are far less often. Think about it. Is she helping you achieve your dreams, or is she keeping you safe in your comfort zone where you know the outcomes? How does it feel to live in her fear? Are you out living your best life when you're listening to her? No. You're thinking, oh my gosh, this is me. It's okay. We all start unaware. And now you are aware and you get to make a decision. You get to choose if you want to listen to her or not. So before we go any further, let's take a few minutes and get really honest with ourselves and become aware of our current circumstances. I want you to grab a piece of paper and pen or markers. I like fun colors. And I want you to draw a big circle in the center of your page. I want you to cut it in half and in quarters. And then each quarter, we're going to cut in two parts. We'll have a total of 12 sections. We're going to label the sections starting at the top. And you can pause this as you need to, but spirituality is top center, and we're going to move clockwise to the right. So the next line is creativity, finances, career, education, health, physical activity, home cooking, home environment, relationships, social life, and lastly, joy. And I'm going to explain each line, and I want you to give yourself a rating. The center is that you're not really satisfied at all, and the outside edge is you are just experiencing so much that it can't get any better. What I don't want you to do is assume that you know what each section means and start rating yourself. So just hear me out. We'll go through them one by one, and then you can give yourself a rating. I'm going to challenge you to get super honest with yourself right now, because if you're not honest, you're not going to have accurate data to work with, and you'll continue to live with your head in the clouds, justifying the way life is. Being brutally honest gives you the potential to redirect the course of your life where you want it to go and not by where it's going by chance. So I'm giving you a permission slip right now to be brave and be honest with yourself. You are the only one that's going to see this. Let's just get a true assessment on how things are right now. So here we go. Spirituality. It's the way we seek and express meaning and purpose. It's how we experience connectedness to a moment, to ourselves, to nature, to others, and the significant or sacred. It helps us connect to something bigger than ourselves. It's about seeking deeper meaning in life and intending to align with the highest version of ourselves. Spirituality is something different for everyone. It may mean a devotion to a god, or meditation, or yoga, or nature. A balanced spiritual life cultivates greater emotional, mental, and physical well-being. So how satisfying are your spiritual practices? Creativity is the ability to create anything from recipes to writing to music to building to designing. It's the ability to take core ideas and come up with fresh solutions to problems. It's about innovation and transformation. Research shows creative people are happier, more open-minded, confident, self-expressive, and more likely to be true to themselves. The act of creating helps us see the world in a broader, more dynamic way. How creative are you allowing yourself to be? Finances include salary, additional income, investments, spending, and savings. Your financial situation can fuel you or drain you and has a huge impact on your life, including your health. Physical, emotional, and financial health are all interconnected. You cannot have one without the other. When you're financially secure, you experience a greater peace of mind. You can make decisions that support your well-being and improve your confidence, your independence, and possibility. How much confidence is your financial situation giving you? Career has the power to significantly impact health because we are spending more than half our waking hours at work usually. Settling for a job that makes you unhappy impacts you every day and it's not nourishing. Having work you love or finding a way to love your work supercharges your health and happiness. How fulfilling is your current job? Education is about constantly learning. This doesn't have to be in a formal school setting, but learning something new every day. It can be listening to podcasts, reading books, taking a formal education class, even just a conversation with a friend or a colleague. So, where does your satisfaction with education fall? Health is an overall state of wellness, including physical, emotional, and mental well being. Health includes self care, which is recognizing that your body has needs and taking action to meet those needs. A healthy person has millions of dreams, and a sick person has one to be healthy. If you don't have your health, it makes all of your other dreams and desires harder. How do you feel about your overall health? Physical activity is anything that gets your body moving. It's increasing your blood flow and your heart rate and circulating energy by moving your body. Our bodies thrive on movement and quickly degenerate without it. It has the ability to lift our spirits, positively impact how we interact with others, and help us sleep better. How much positivity is physical activity creating in your life? Home cooking is preparing food for yourself and or your family in your home. It can be as simple as an apple and almond butter or a full 5-course meal. It's not so much about the food as it is the act. It's an act of self-care, of love, and of nourishment. So how do you feel about the type and amounts of food that you prepare at home? Home environment is any aspect of life that contributes to our living conditions. It's where we spend much of our time and includes our country, city, and neighborhood. Our home environment should contribute to rather than break down our health and happiness. This can include cleanliness, toxins, plants, and decor. Oftentimes, our external environment is a reflection of our internal, but we absorb energy from our environment just as we absorb energy from our food and nutrients. So, does your home environment give you the support you need to thrive? Relationships are the cornerstone of life. They speak to our ability to love and relate to others. They are food for our soul and they nourish our mind, body, and spirit. Connection with others has a massive impact on your quality of life. And although not all of our relationships are equal, they are supportive and there's equal give and take. You should feel good because they're meeting your needs. How connected do you feel in your relationships? Social life is your engagement with everyone, from family to friends to casual acquaintances. It's the larger group of people you spend time with and the activities you do with them. Social life provides a sense of belonging, which is a basic psychological need for survival. Our needs may differ, but meeting this need is necessary to feel fulfilled for a healthy mind, body, and spirit. How fulfilling is your social life? Joy. Joy is a deep experience of inward peace and happiness. It comes out when something aligns with our core values. But joy is not to be confused with pleasure, which is based on feelings of external happiness. Happiness is something that happens to you, and joy is based on internal feelings. When you walk into a room with someone who is full of joy, you can feel it, right? It happens when we make simple decisions that align with our core values and it bursts outward. It overfills from the inside. So, how do you rate the amount of joy in your life? Now, I want you to connect your dots to see your circle. And let's come back together with some energy and celebrate yourselves for honesty and whatever this circle looks like, because awareness is power. You should see how lopsided some of my circles have been. Life is super bumpy ride for me at times. But you can imagine what happens when we go 2, 3, 5, or more years without being clear and honest about what is lighting our lives up and what could use some improvement. Time goes by and we're on a bumpy path to where? Nowhere. And this is generally how we get to the place where we are now. This tool gives us awareness on where we're starting to design what we really want. So if you have many areas of your life that are out of balance, congratulations. This is actually a really exciting place to be because you get to create all of those areas of your life the way you want them to be. Now, this tool is not for you to beat yourself up. It's just information gathering. It's kind of like an Excel document. It's just information. It does not define you. Life is hard. We get beat down. We find ourselves in some rough situations and we start just surviving. We start being reactive, putting fires out, trying to keep all the balls in the air rather than being proactive and choosing and creating. We start to adjust our goals and our dreams to fit to what life has given us. So let's take a look at our circles. This tool should actually make you freaking excited because it shows exactly where to best spend your time and energy. If you're like many people, you've probably got a few areas where maybe you're living with only 30 or 40% of what you could have. So, do you want more from your relationships or more health or more joy? Now, when do you want it? Do you want it 5 years from now, or do you want it 10 years from now, or do you want it now? Never forget what you are capable of. Life does not happen to you. You aren't just dealt a deck of cards. You get to choose, you get to create your life. So, let me ask you, what will life be like in 5 years if you continue to allow your protector to make your decisions? What will life be like in 10 years? Allow yourself to really feel what that feels like so you can infuse this into your body and not just learn it. I challenge you to nurture this awareness within yourself on a regular basis. It will empower you to deeply connect with yourself and consciously choose what you like or don't like about each of these areas. This can be hard and scary because it's admitting what isn't serving us as well as what is. That maybe we've made some choices that don't actually help us thrive. But this awareness is not to see everything that's wrong with our lives, but instead help us own what is not allowing us to thrive and what is, so we can choose to do more of what brings us joy and less of what drains us. This tool is to be used often, especially as you get started on your journey, because your circle is going to change weekly, daily, sometimes hourly, especially as you begin to see how the outside world impacts you. What throws you off? What makes you feel good? Your information gathering. You're learning about yourself and your life. When I felt very lost, I did this almost weekly because it helped give me clarity about what was working and what wasn't, so I could focus the energy that I had on what would help balance me out. The more clear you get, the more you empower your brain to come up with answers. I want you to remember that protector is only one part of you. So when you catch that protector coming out, you have to make a decision. Do you want to believe what you believed in the past? Or do you want to change the story and tell yourself something new? Do you want to continue to get the results you've gotten? Or do you want to get new ones? Are you going to stay the same? Or will you choose to grow into the person you want to be and have the life you want to have? So I told you there was two parts we were going to focus on today. One is your limiting self, your protector. The other is your empowering self, your warrior. Now, likely that's the person that's deciding to listen to this. It's that version of you who takes risks, who chooses big. She follows her dreams and her heart, and she refuses to live in fear. She lives and loves from her whole heart and soul. She's your warrior. Remember her? So how, when you're on the decision line, how do you tap into your warrior? If you've had your habits for a long time, if you've been listening to your protector for a long time, you might have a big boulder of habits in front of you that might be hard to move. This means you're going to have to put in extra work, get extra help, learn, expand your mind, your knowledge, and your skills to help you move it, to listen to your warrior. The choice between your warrior and your protector is equal. The result is not. So who are you going to let make that decision? All right, shake your body out, check your energy. Are you ready to take this information and move to the next level of your life? Because for the rest of this time, with your permission, we're going to focus on your warrior. Are you ready? You created who you are today, maybe not consciously, but at some point you decided who you needed to be, what you needed to do to get where you are. So now it's time to consciously create who you want to be. What do you want your life to look like? So we're going to focus on your warrior thoughts, beliefs, and actions and emotions and how to turn them into results. So step one is awareness. We now have awareness about where we are. What in life is serving you and what is not. We use the tool circle of life to make it easy to see which areas we need to nurture. Now we're going to use another tool to develop that awareness about where we want to go. Step two is create. This is where we get to be playful. We get to let our warrior come out and create. We get to create a map of where we want to go. So are you ready to be playful and have fun with this? This creation tool is called Lifeboarding. And in an Authentically You coaching, we actually spend time with several different worksheets and exercises to help you create this vision because without a map of where you're going, it's easy to go off the path. Some of us struggle with this creation piece because if you're like me, I had completely lost pretty much all vision of what I wanted in life. And I needed several tools, but also some time to build my life into what it is today. Because today is about the basics or just starting to explore. So, this is to plant seeds and know that nothing on here is permanent. You might put an idea down and then a few days or weeks from now decide that you don't really want that. It's fluid, it's ever changing because change is the only constant in life. So, our life boards will reflect that. So, we're going to grab a fresh sheet of paper and I want you to draw this diagram out. I want you to pause this. And we're going to get you started and you'll be able to add to this more as you later. But for now, I want you to draw a small circle in the middle and out from the center, we're going to draw 7 more lines and we're going to start to consciously design our life. We're going to label these areas with categories from our circle of life. And some of them we're going to combine together just for this exercise, but I want you to give you some room to expand around them. So we're going to start to bubble off of them. And then we're going to start to create. And if you can design what this area of your life will look like, what does that include? If this area was exactly what you want it to be, if you were doing everything you wanted to do, what does your perfect vision of health look like? What does your home environment look like? What are you thinking and believing? This is the dream life that you desire. So I want you to draw lines off, take 5 minutes, pause this, and jot down anything you want more of that you want, but maybe you aren't doing now. And I want you to focus on what you want and not what you don't want. Because if I tell you not to think about elephants, what are you going to think about? Elephants. So the same goes here. If we focus on what we don't want, all the brain hears is that thing. So focus on what you do want. So take 5 minutes to begin to create. And I'm going to give you some prompts to think about, and you can pause in between each question. But what does your ideal diet look like? What kind of fluids do you drink? How do you want to be physically active? How does your body move? How do you carry yourself? You stand, you talk, you walk. How do you feed your mind? What qualities do you bring with you into this world? How do you want to show up? How do you connect to your higher power? What does your home life look like? Does it feel like? What do your spending habits look like? What's your ultimate financial vision? Get specific here. What's your dream job? What's your ideal love relationship? What are your friendships like? How do you think, act, and behave? What activities do you do with loved ones, friends, and socially? How do you express your creativity? What do you do when you feel most creative? What would make your heart happy? What would make life ridiculously fun? So let's come back together, shake our bodies out, reset our energy. Some of you might have been able to fill out a lot of this, and some of your life boards might be pretty empty. For those of you who are struggling to see a vision, it's likely because you're in a heavy season of change. I know what that feels like. I remember feeling like my whole world had crumbled around me and I lost all vision for my life. My board was pretty empty when I started this tool. I had no idea what I wanted to create, but I was dedicated to creating it. You have to start somewhere, so trust yourself and trust this process. Remember, this board will change and flow as you grow and create, and although there is a level of seriousness to this, be playful and have fun. My board has become quite full now, and many of these things are now in my life. So you might be asking, how do we make this life board happen? All right, so we're going to recap. Awareness, use the circle of life. Step 2, create, use that life board. And step 3 is the habit life cycle. So action seems easy enough, right? Just go out and do it. Well, for 90 to 95% of people, one of two things happens. One, we get paralyzed on where to start and how to start, and then we end up not starting because the whole thing's just overwhelming. Or two, we get started and we have so much fun creating, and we take action, and then protector comes out and reminds us of all the reasons we can't and shouldn't be doing this. And we start making decisions that keep us safe. So, how do we get you different results? This is where we need to begin to shift our habits. So, remember in Foundation One, where we talked about how our current habits have gotten us to where we are, but they're not going to get us where we want to go? These old habits are no longer serving us, they're no longer giving us the results that we want. So, we need to shift our habits. So, I want you to check your energy. Are you telling your brain you're ready for this? Because it's good stuff. So, there's four parts to shifting a habit. Remember, habits can be emotions, beliefs, actions, and thoughts. And because showing up for your dreams and your life is no longer optional anymore, you're ready to do the hard work to shift your habits to create this life, right? So we're going to start here with your results. We have to know what result we want so that we know what actions to take, right? So you've gotten the results you have today by doing what you've done. So I want you to thank that part of you because they got you here. However, they're probably not going to get you to the next level where you want to go, right? So, what is it that you want? What do you want results to look like? Look at your life board. Dream big. Is it possible that because the who that you are that created what you have today is creating the results might be a little less than what you're capable of? So, looking at who you are today, what results are actually possible? If you decide to listen more to your warrior and less to your protector, what is possible in the next month, next 3 months? And if you're struggling with making decisions about what you want, is it possible that decision making or lack of decision making is a habit you developed? Well, that might really get some of us thinking. So, some results will be easy to decide on, like areas like health, physical activity, spirituality, home environment tend to be areas where we kind of more easily know what we want. Some areas like career, finances, and relationship may take some time to develop because those decisions go deeper. And give yourself grace and time to make decisions about the results that you want from your heart and not out of emotion. Because one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that when I make decisions out of emotion, they're almost always out of alignment with what I really want. And then they leave me feeling regret and I'm trying to backpedal to fix it. So I want you to pick only 1 to 3 things to focus on at a time. This way you can avoid overwhelm. Because if we try to do too much at one time, what happens? We burn out. It's not sustainable. So if you only have 1 or 2 things on there, that actually makes this easy. You get to take inspired action on those 1 or 2 things and trust that the next doors will open for you. I've seen that play out in my own life. When I first started using this tool, like I said, my life board was pretty empty. But as I took action, I began to see more. And it's here that I want you to acknowledge that your protector might already be coming out saying things like, but you can't do that. But what if this happens? But what if that? Remember, you get into an internal battle between your head and your heart. Your warrior, your heart is trying to come out. Your protector is your head trying to stay in control. And it's this challenge to shift when you're battling between who you've been and where you want to go. It can be an all out war zone inside. I've been there. It's not a good feeling. This is where you're strengthening your identity amidst the creating the results of the life you love. So I want you to trust the process of reinventing yourself. You'll fall in love with who you are and the life you want to create. Have faith in the tools. Imagine, if you can, 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, you've achieved everything you want right now. How much joy do you feel? Think about the impact that's going to have on your life. Because one day, like today, you decided exactly what results you wanted. You with me so far? So we've taken some time to figure out what results we want, and now it's the actions. So let's take a minute to talk about actions, because let's be real. We all know people who've said, I've tried everything and it's just not going to work. You might have even been one of those people at some point in your life. I'm sure I've done it. But what if we've been taking lots of random, extra small actions that aren't on the same path to the result? Would you agree that there can be many ways to get to a result? So, what happens if we're doing extra small actions from several of those different paths? What kind of result do you think we're going to get? Probably not much. and it leaves us feeling defeated and we give up. You may have to change your approach because it's when we stack those extra small actions on top of each other that we start to get extra large actions, which leads to our results. And I call those extra small actions baby steps. I'm actually the queen of baby steps because baby steps allow me to create a plan of extra small actions that are manageable and won't overwhelm me and leave me feeling paralyzed, but instead will lead me to extra large results. And if you try one little extra small action and it doesn't work, you can always try something else. So growing up, I lived by a park and there was a river with big rocks in the middle of it. And there was this large flat rock in the middle that my sisters and I always wanted to get out to. There are several routes we could take. Sometimes we would start down one path and realize the water was too high, or the gap between the rocks was too big to jump, and so we'd have to turn around and try another route. Sometimes we don't even know how we're going to get there, but we could see the first two steps. We always got to that big rock. Sometimes it just wasn't the way we initially started or thought we'd get there. This happens in life. So when we make a decision, it's super important to break the actions necessary to get to that result down into baby steps. Maybe you don't even see the whole big picture of how to get there, but probably you know the first few steps you can take. So don't worry about having all the answers. Promise they will come. You just got to get the rock rolling. Picture that huge boulder in front of you. You've gotten a few pushes in just by listening this. It's moved you just a few inches. You stop taking action after you stop listening to this. How much harder do you think it's going to be to get that rock moving again later? Is it possible? Absolutely. Think of how much easier it's going to be if you just continue taking baby steps right now. If we take action, are we capable of doing that action? Yeah. We might have to learn new skills, but when we set our minds to something, is there a way to get it done always? Yeah. Who is the only person that can take your capability away from you? You are. We do it to ourselves. We steal our own potential every day. We talk ourselves out of taking action because we're in the habit of listening to our protector and falling into old habits that no longer serve us. When we tap into our warrior, we tap into our capability and our potential. We need to hold ourselves fully capable. So how do we do that? We must believe we can. A belief is nothing more than a story that you tell yourself that you feel absolutely certain is true. So when we doubt ourselves, what happens to our capability? It goes down. So we need to shift our beliefs that they are so strong that there is no doubt in our minds about what actions we want to take. Sometimes we have to prime ourselves because after all, we're shifting the habits of our beliefs. So when we start to doubt ourselves, we first need to remember why we want to take this action. Because when we know why, we're capable of just about anything. Because why is connecting to that emotion behind the what. These emotions might be negative. For example, maybe there's alcohol you had at some point in your life. Maybe you had a little too much of it. And maybe you had an experience that you never want to experience again. So you hold yourself capable to never drinking, maybe tequila again. Because even when you think about it today, you can feel it in your body, right? And then we have positive ones, like for example, vacations. They might be a lot of work to plan and prepare for. They're so dang fun that we put the effort in every single time to make them happen, right? When we know why, we don't care. We don't care how it's going to happen, how hard it's going to be. We become certain. We know it's going to happen. And we hold ourselves capable. Second, we can look for proof from our past. Are there any situations where you did accomplish something you thought you couldn't? Is it possible that the doubt or belief that you have about yourself is not true? Find a new story to tell yourself, one that you can believe with 100% certainty, because you can't just feed your mind a line of crap that you don't believe, so you have to be able to, because you won't believe it. So you have to be able to create a new belief that you believe. And thirdly, we can shift our beliefs by wiring them into our physical body with movement. Remember? Anchoring. So I want you can repeat that belief over and over while performing a physical action, like pounding on your chest or running, snapping your fingers, making a gesture, anything that when you repeat those two things together, it wires your brain to that new habit. So figure out maybe how you might move when you achieve what you want to achieve and repeat that. Do that while you're repeating the belief. If we tell ourselves something long enough, we'll eventually start to believe it. There's an old saying, right? There's some truth to that. both positive and negative. All right, so let's pull this all together in the life cycle. So if you're listening to your protector who has doubt and a low level of belief about the outcome of the situation, she's going to allow you to tap into a small amount of your capability, right? Which means that you'll probably take a lot of random extra small actions that are going to lead to what? Little or no results, right? But if we listen to our warrior who is certain of the outcome and has a high level of belief, she's going to allow you to tap into huge amounts of your capability. And you'll probably take lots of baby step actions to lead to extra large actions, which gives you what kind of results? Huge. So would you agree that our results start with our beliefs? Yes. So what results are your current beliefs costing you? Do you want to make some decisions to take control by focusing on your beliefs and tap into your warrior instead? This moment is a catalyst for you to shift the trajectory of your life. There's no better time than now. You are worthy of it. You deserve it. All right. Shake your body out. Check your energy. So at this point, you are aware of a few things. You are aware of your protector and your warrior. You are aware that you can create something new and be in a hard place. You are aware of more of what you'd like less of and more of. You are aware that you get to choose. You are aware that you have the power to shift your beliefs. You are aware that only you can limit your capability. So let's pull this together. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself standing there having achieved all of the things that you want and dream of. You have the job, you have the home, you have the relationship, you have the lifestyle, you have the fun. Now tap into your intuition, your warrior, and really lean in and feel what that feels like. To stand there with this life that you've created all around you. Your eyes closed. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. It might seem like a dream right now. It might not seem possible. And I can guarantee you one thing, that if you stop pushing that boulder, it won't be possible. It'll always be a dream, just out of reach. But if you put the work in, if you dig deep, imagine the life that you can create. It's just one moment, one day. If you imagine every day was like this, to really live and be authentically you. You can open your eyes. I am not the person I am today, a year ago or 2 years ago. I created who I am. I created my life. I'm not special. You're fully capable of this as well. So while we've got this boulder moving, let's take a minute to jot down 1 or 2 areas of your life that you want to work on, just 1 or 2. And then I want you to jot down 1 or 2 things in those areas that you can do, some actions. So you should have a total of like 2 to 4 things written down. And I want you to break those steps into baby steps that you can take this week to move you measurably closer to guaranteeing yourself. Pause this and do that. All right, reset your state, shake your body out. So I have shared a ton of information with you right now. You've learned to understand that your mind, why it does what it does, and the tools to choose to do something different. You've learned what holds people back, what has held you back in the past from getting what you want. And now you are aware. You can shift your habit to tap into what is already inside of you. That warrior lives inside you. You brought her out to play. Learn to bring her out every day. It's a process. It takes practice and it takes time. There's 3 forces to growth. Learning, not just flirting, like listening to this, really letting the material sink in and learning the lessons, digging deep to unravel the layers of your limiting beliefs and healing them. Practice and visualizing. Get this into your soul. Make it so real that your mind doesn't know any different. Rewire your brain and your body. And community. You have this experience, you listen to this, and then you go back out into the world surrounded by people who haven't listened. And it's harder to practice what you've learned with your friends and family because there's a disconnect. Community creates an environment for you to practice, grow, and strengthen your skills. Everything you're experiencing right now listening to this, do you find great value in it? The learning, the practice, doing it with others who are on the same page. What you're experiencing right now, these feelings, are what we do in Authentically You coaching. Why is this a taste of that? Well, I could schedule 6 or 8 hours and really teach you tools in depth. But I want to help you become strong and deeply rooted like a tree in these habits. And the only way that can happen is with practice and repetition. How many of you learned to play an instrument in high school or middle school? I played the violin. How many of you could pick it back up and play any sort of a song? I definitely could not. The only way we get better is with practice and repetition until it becomes a part of who we are. So if you're ready to make the shift and infuse this into your body and your soul to shift from the life you've been living to the life you want to create, I'm going to share coaching options with you so you have another tool. I couldn't find someone to guide me through my tough times. I learned all these tools one at a time, sometimes very painfully, on my own. I wish I had a teacher to guide me through because it would have been a lot easier and faster. And honestly, I did lose some of the good I had in my life because of how I did it. But my belief was high. I was certain. I didn't know what was to come, but I knew it would be amazing. Most people go through life wondering where the time goes and not truly living life because they're stuck in a set of old habits. When you wake up, when you become aware of your habits and the results, you can break them down to go to the next level. You become aware of what you don't want and build a vision for what you do and actually make it happen. So, if you're ready to catapult yourself forward, there's two different options for coaching: group and one on one. Group coaching is a powerful creative group of 8 to 10 people, usually women, working towards the same objective of creating a life they love, supporting each person's image of that. The culture is intimate, it's vulnerable, it's growth minded. It's an interactive community with connection and accountability and generalized support based on the group needs. Everyone is invested in the success of each member. We meet via Zoom 2 times a month for 6 months. And each session includes new mindset tools, kind of like what you're learning today, and lessons for continued growth based on overall group needs. You'll build strength in your awareness of yourself and your life vision. And there's also support from me through email and a group page with weekly check ins and accountability. One on one coaching is similar to group coaching. However, the support and tools and lessons are individualized, they're customized, and they're private, focused on your specific needs for growth. We meet via Zoom weekly for 24 sessions over 6 months. There's personalized support through text and email, and Voxer, which is like a walkie talkie app, as well. But both coaching programs provide an environment for consistent growth, learning, and the on purpose creation of who you want to be and the life you want to have. You don't have to let life happen to you anymore. You get to go out and happen to life. You'll learn tools to uncover your authentic self, who you really want to be in a safe space to shift and rewire those old habits that are no longer serving you. Programs are 6 months because it takes time. You didn't get where you are overnight. And true change doesn't happen overnight. True change comes from subtle shifts over time, from inspired action. 6 months allows for small, lasting changes in enough life situations to be tossed your way to become strongly rooted in those shifts that you want to make. 6 months of momentum can change your life forever. So, what you get: 6 amazing months of spoiling yourself with growth, focusing on what that next level of life looks for you. What would make your life better in the next 3 to 6 months? During this time, you'll find yourselves, your self love, your self confidence, your self trust by strengthening your awareness skills, uncovering what you desire more in life and less of in life, and diving deeper into your identity, learning more about your different parts and roles. You'll have unlimited access to me for questions and support outside of sessions. And because of my health coaching background, you get special foundational food lessons because a healthy body is what allows you to do everything. You just have to decide if you want to do it within a community. And you can check my website for next available group dates or customize it to yourself with one on one coaching. All the details can be found on my website, www.authentically-u-coaching.com/coaching. People sometimes hesitate because they're worried they can't make the shift from where they are to where they want to be. They're nervous that they can't deliver for themselves. So if you're up for it, I want to do one last exercise with you. I want you to stand up Adjust my camera here. I want you to hold your finger out straight in front of you. And I want you to, without turning your hips, I want you to twist as far as you can. And I want you to kind of make a mental note of where your finger lands. And then I want you to bring it back to center, put your hand down, and I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to visualize yourself lifting your finger up and twisting just a few inches past where you were. In your mind, bring it back to center. In your mind, again, twist back again as far as you can, going just a few inches past where you were this last time. And bring it back to center. And one more time. In your mind, I want you to take your finger back as far as you can, going almost halfway around. And bring it back to that center. And now I want you to open your eyes. I want you to put your finger up, and I want you to twist as far as you can. How much further did you go? This is the power that you hold. No one gave you this special power. You came with this. This is your warrior. It is you. And you can teach her to come when you call. So I honor you for taking time, for being here and listening to this. You can register for coaching on my website of www.authentically-u-coaching.com/coaching. And actually, for listening to this, there's a discount code. If you enter discount code YouTube at checkout, you'll get 10% off. Feel free to reach out to me with questions. And if you're ready to make the shift from where you've been to where you want to be, you've got this. Thank you for listening.